Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Dungeons and Dragons and ending friendships, right? Because the reality, all right, there's a lot here, okay. And mostly what I'm going to talk about today is what I learned from Philosopher King Madeline Argy, all right? So that is, I think that's her, I don't know if that's her channel name or if that's her name. She is linked below. Okay, you will find her video on ending friendship. How to end friendships and walk away. And when I saw this thing, I've been listening to this young Briton. She is a young Briton. She's from to my knowledge, she's from the UK, right? I'm guessing that from the accent. So I'm putting some assumptions here, right? And you're like, Scott, why don't you just Google it? That's for slackers, man. I ain't doing some Google search. I will make my own reality until I know the truth. There you go. All right. So to my knowledge, she's from Great Britain, right? And so she's a young Britoner. And actually, I looked up I did Google it, right? The correct term is a Briton, Briton. So she's a young Briton. And she is, and I when I listened to this video, I was like, that's it, man. This woman gets it, right? So I struggle with friendship. Now, the reason we're going to talk about this right now is we currently have a structure, and I would love to see this. And actually, just so you're aware, I try for things and I fail and then I give up, right? You can't win every battle, right? One of the things I've given up on from trying to fix what have I accomplished with this channel? I think what I have accomplished with this channel is it is okay to believe something dramatically different than everybody else about Dungeons and Dragons. Because I got 2,000 people who keep showing up here, they keep watching the videos, and the moment the well runs dry, I'm ready, right? Like when you guys are sick of clicking on my face, no problem, right? I'll have had my run, right? But that day ain't today, right? And so what I really have accomplished with my channel, and that I'm very proud of, is that I have made it safe, in my humble opinion, for people to have radically different views of Dungeons and Dragons and to go against everything that the common knowledge is about Dungeons and Dragons and say, you can go kick rocks. I have a completely dramatically different view of Dungeons and Dragons. So I haven't convinced anybody of what I believe, but I have convinced everybody, in my opinion, in my humble opinion, that it is totally okay to walk away from Dungeons and Dragons, from the archaic, ridiculously foolish belief that Dungeons and Dragons is a game and that the point of it is to have fun. I think we have arrived in a day where it is completely okay to have a conversation and say, you know what, fun is not the point of Dungeons and Dragons, and I'm not the only one saying it anymore. In literally February of 2023, no, I'm sorry, it was March of 2023, maybe April, apologies, I think it was March. In spring of 2023, Joe Manganiello said on D&D Direct that D&D was about transforming your life and the culture you live in. I'm not the only one saying this anymore. So, but this young Briton, right, she said, hey, you should end friendships and walk away. And I've just felt like so encouraged because I do this. Boy, do I do this. Now, here's the thing. I actually don't think we should play Dungeons and Dragons with friends. I really think what we should be doing is we should be doing what the NFL does, what the NBA does, and what the NBL does, right? They don't play, football, basketball, and baseball with their friends. They get the best players they can get, right? And that's what I think. And I've been trying to get people there on board, saying, "Hey, you do not need to play with your friends. You should be playing Dungeons and Dragons with the best people, with the best players you can possibly find. And if you're a player, you should find the best dungeon master you could find. And if they ain't your friend, who cares? Because the point of Dungeons and Dragons is not fun, right? Like it is about a lot more than that, right?" But I have not convinced anyone, and I really kind of gave up on that. So we still, and I'm going to be very, truthful and say, unfortunately, we still live in a world where very much people are playing Dungeons and Dragons at the macro level. At the macro level, people play Dungeons and Dragons with their friends, right? And frankly, I still play Dungeons and Dragons. No, that's starting to change. I am playing Dungeons and Dragons with some people who are not my friends. That's interesting. Yeah. So yeah, yeah. You'll get more on that later. All right. So here's the point, right? If we're playing Dungeons and Dragons with our friends, sometimes our friendships can end for reasons that aren't Dungeons and Dragons, and sometimes our friendships can end for reasons that are Dungeons and Dragons. That recently happened to me. I lost. Actually, when my game exploded last year, all the players flew off in every direction, and I only lost one as a friend. But I did lose one as a friend, and I slammed the door on that friendship, and I was like, "This is finished." The door was slammed, right? And I felt really bad about it until I heard this philosopher king, Madeline Argy, saying exactly what I believe. Now, why do I slam the door on friendships and believe that ending friendships abruptly and dramatically and harshly is the best way to go? And I do believe that, okay? Here's why. The rest of the world, what they do is they ghost, right? And they're done with a friendship and they just ghost. And I had a friend who did this to me, and it was brutal. It cut me. Okay, there's you guys know Silence of the Lamb? There was a sequel to that. I think it was called Hannibal. And Hannibal explains, like, if you want to cut somebody deep, right, you reach in between their legs and you cut a vein at the back of their leg. The gravity will pump the blood out of their heart so fast, they'll die in seconds, right? It was a great movie and explained exactly how you kill a person by draining their blood out fast, right? And when that dude ghosted me, I had heard that, description of how to kill a person in a movie, in a Hannibal Lecter movie, and I was like, that's what just happened to me, man. This ghosting is the worst pain I've ever felt, like, socially, right? It was brutal. He was a good friend. I have not heard, we literally had a fight over Dice Throne, the board game, and I never heard from him again. And it was brutal, right? And it cut me deep, right? And I promised myself, and I've never ghosted anybody, right? But I will go harsh and hard at a friend and be like, our friendship is finished, right? And I thought there was like an inkling that Scott Garibay is wrong very, very little, right? It happens every now and then, and I pride myself on recognizing those times and saying it. And you'll find right here, you'll Google Scott Garibay wrong. I got multiple videos that say, hey, I was wrong on this thing, right? So, but why can a dungeon master never ghost anybody in their game as a friend, right? Madeline Argy explained it. She's like, I have a right to know what happens in my life. I have a right to know what happens in my life. And if you're a friend, you have a portion of my life, and you need to give it to me, right? That's why it is wrong to ghost anyone. It is much worse than having a down and out, knockdown, drag out verbal exchange in which you make someone very upset and you become very upset. And the reason why is the angst of that, the pain of that is a fraction of ghosting, right? And this young Briton explained it far better than I had ever knew, right? She's like, you got a piece of my life and I want to know it. Give it, right? That's it. That's why a dungeon master can never ghost a friend, right? And, well, wait, Scott, why is a dungeon master, any different than a regular person? You're not a regular person. You are called. Right? Gary Gygax, the first time you filled out that character sheet and it said, what is your alignment? It had nothing to do with your character, with your player character. It had to do with you. Gary was saying, are you good? Are you neutral? Are you evil? And a dungeon master has to ask that of herself or himself every single day. And if you ghost, you are evil to the core. To the core. Evil people ghost, right? And so that's why you should have a hard, harsh, uncomfortable conversation where you slam the door on a friendship. You should close it out, right? Rather than do what most of the world does, which is ghost someone, right? So that is the reason why we never ghost. And I didn't understand this until Madeline Argy said it very clearly. Link below, right? Second, I love this, right? If you did something to betray a friend, you cannot ghost them. You have to say what you did wrong, right? And this is the most beautiful language I have ever heard outside of the sacred realms of my life. Right? Every week at church I hear more beautiful language than any secular person can ever come up with. But you seculars got a few brilliant ideas, right? This was beautiful. Madeline Argley said, you have to give them an opportunity to hate you. You have to give them an opportunity to hate you. You have to give them an opportunity to hate you. And honestly, I'm so glad I found this young Briton, because she is a philosopher king. She is a philosopher king, right? She is speaking truth, right? I get a ton of hate on this channel, a ton. You would not believe the stuff I get in my comments, and trust and believe, you guys haven't to see half the people who spew this crap are blocked, right? So like, you guys don't even see a portion of it. You would not believe the stuff that goes on, in the stuff that's out for review. It's abominable, right? And the reality is, people hate. I say something different about Dungeons and Dragons, and people hate me for it. I get all kinds of comments and worse. Trust and believe, there's worse, right? And it's rough. It's rough, right? And I realize, Madeline Argy called it. I gave people an opportunity to hate me. And the reason why was I said what I believed. I was transparent and truthful, right? And people despise it. People despise hearing the truth, in my humble opinion, right? And I believe my humble opinion is truth. And I think that's one of the reasons why I get so much hate on this channel. So I really wanted to share this young Briton's absolutely incredible wisdom, right, for every dungeon master. We can never, ever ghost. It is critically important that we never ghost. So that is my humble opinion. What's important is when I get to hear your humble opinion, when you get in the comments and send your traffic. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.